might think that you have already seen some of the most beautiful places in the world in pictures, but you should look at them from another angle. Take one step back, look at it from the sky, or go there at a different time and you'll see what it looks like totally different. Make sure you watch this video until the end to see what Stonehenge really looks like. If you love traveling as much as we do, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today, we are showing you 10 photos that will change the way you see the world. Cairo. Seeing the pyramids of Egypt is a dream come true for many people. But when you live in Cairo, this is just something that you see every day. They are probably so used to it that they don't even notice it anymore. Cairo is the capital of the largest city in Egypt. The metropolitan area is also the largest in the Middle East and the Arab world. And it's amazing to see the New World next to something that was built thousands of years ago. The city was built around the Nile in the 1910s. It was meant to be a lush city, just like Egypt used to be one of the richest and most powerful civilizations in the world. But many things changed over the years as apartments and hotels replaced the gardens and the houses. Now, one of the best places to visit is actually Pizza Hut. Either you love pizza or are not a normal human being, you will just love the view that you have from the restaurant. That's because you can see the pyramids of Egypt when you look through the window. If you want to take a closer look, you can also be one of the millions of people who visit the pyramids every year. It has been 4,000 years and the pyramids are still more beautiful than ever.
Hey guys, we are so excited to announce we are producing our own original content. Head over to The Trendy for the best DIYs, fashion tips, makeup hacks, and so much more. We are sure you're going to love it, and be sure to let us know what you think in the comment section. We love to hear from you. See you there.
Kampung Palanga. A small village suddenly became one of the must-visit attractions in Indonesia when the government invested $300 million Indonesian rupiah, or a little more than 22,000 American dollars. All they had to do was paint all the buildings to make it much more colorful. It only took 1 month to paint more than 200 houses, and the result was revealed in April 2017. This is why Kampung Palanga is now called the Rainbow Village. Slamet Widodo is a teacher and also the man who came up with this idea. Inspired by other Asian cities who did the same thing, the local council committee thought it would give them a chance to attract more tourists to the area, and they were absolutely right. That's because the village that used to be struggling is now trending on social media. When you first look at it, you can see that the buildings are simply covered with colored stripes. But when you take a closer look, you can see pieces of art around every corner. For example, there is a pair of wings on a wall, colorful flags flowing in the wind, a big worm who wants to eat the visitors, balloons that you can pretend to hold, and so much more. That's a great reason why you should take the time to visit this village. And it's also a great opportunity for some awesome Instagram pictures. Great Wall of China. You have all heard about this wall before, but we don't think that you have seen every part of it, as it is more than 13,000 miles long. It was built in the 3rd century BC as a defense system on the northern border of the country. And don't think that you can just go on a spaceship to see it. That's because astronauts have already confirmed that the Great Wall of China is not visible from space. It's made from materials that make it difficult to discern from space. The only way you can see it is from low orbit under a specific set of weather and lighting conditions. This is why we think that going to space is not the best idea. You can also simply visit the Great Wall of China, but don't think that it will all be peaceful and relaxing. That's because an estimated 50 million tourists visit the Great Wall every year. You will never be alone on this wall, as you are not the only one who had that idea. Anyway, it would be hard to see the whole Great Wall of China during only one visit. This is unless you are one of those 2 people who were the first to walk what was left of the Great Wall of China. Just look at the end of the wall. It's weird to think that we had never seen this part before. Nordlingen. When you are walking in this small town in Germany, everything looks normal. But take a look at it from the sky, and you will notice something that is really unusual. The perfectly round shape is just too pleasing to the eyes, and we wonder who had that crazy idea. But it was actually caused by nature. That's because the little town was built in a crater. A half-mile wide asteroid hit the Earth about 15 million years ago. You could still see the crater millions of years after, and it looks like some people thought that it would be a great idea to build a city city there. But actually, the town founders didn't even know what was happening there. That's because people thought that Nordlingen was just built near a volcano until the 60s. Most people now think that the city's walls are built on the rim of the crater, but it is actually much wider, with a diameter of about 15 miles. But you can still say the whole town sits entirely in that crater, and it's also a really nice place to go as it looks like a modern medieval town. You can find a bell tower, an old-fashioned watermill, a converted monastery, Bavarian houses, and more. That's why Nordlingen is a member of Cittaslow, which are described as towns still curious of the old times, and it's totally worth a visit. The Mona Lisa. This is probably the most famous painting in the world. This is why most people absolutely want to see it when they go to France. But don't think that you're the only one who wants to see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre Museum. That's because hundreds of people have the same idea every day, and you probably won't get a chance to see it unless you wait for a long time. You'll also notice that it's much smaller than you thought it would be, and it will be really hard to take a good picture of it. Is it really worth it? You're the only one who can answer this question. The portrait was painted by Leonardo da Vinci around 1503. Most people think that the woman in the picture was Lisa Gherardini, wife of a Florentine cloth merchant named Francesco del Giocondo. This would explain why the painting is also called La Gioconda. Someone commissioned it, but the painter decided to take the portrait to France instead so it could be part of the French royal collection. This is probably why it is so popular nowadays. But what we love the most is that intriguing smile. People are still asking themselves so many questions about that painting, but what they really want to know is what this woman was thinking when she was smiling in the picture. Copacabana. If you are not ready to see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre Museum, you might think that it's a good idea to simply relax on the beach. But this is not what's going to happen if you ever go to Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. That's because too many people have that idea, and you'll sometimes feel like there is not even enough air for everyone to breathe in that crowd. Just look at what happened when the Rolling Stones were playing live at Rio de Janeiro. It's not like that all the time, but it still makes us want to visit a less popular beach. But this is not the only reason why you should avoid this beach. That's because Rio de Janeiro is not the safest place to visit, even though it's not the worst place either. There is poverty and great wealth. It can be savage and sophisticated. There is an old and a new world, and this is what makes it so surprising. First-time visitors are usually paranoid, but once you get used to it, you know what you need to do to stay safe. Stay inside after 10 p.m. to avoid assaults. Don't use your phone in public to make sure that no one will want to steal it. Don't bring anything but your bathing suit to the beach, and take the metro. Visiting Copacabana can be awesome as long as you are cautious. The Hollywood sign. This is one of the most recognizable signs on Earth, and also the first thing that people see from the plane when they visit the city. But people who live near it don't like it as much as tourists do. That's why some of them are trying to remove it from Google Maps. People who live near the Hollywood sign are tired of seeing tourists who are so interested in 9 letters on a hill. This is why some of them put fake signs on the street to warn people that they can't have access to the Hollywood sign. Unfortunately, they don't have the right to block the streets, so that doesn't solve the problem. But with technology, they found a new way to make sure that tourists would stay as far from their place as possible. They just made the sign invisible online so no one can find it. Anyway, you can't really get that close to the Hollywood sign. First, it's in a park, so you can't really drive there, and if you really want to get to the sign, you have to hike. And even then, you will just end up above the sign. So it's much harder than what people usually think. The best way to see the Hollywood sign is from afar, because that's why it was created. Mexico. In this city, you will find one of the best examples of wealth and poverty. That's because you can live in the most luxurious hotel while your next door neighbor is struggling to pay for food. Photographer Johnny Miller took aerial images from a helicopter to reveal the extreme wealth inequalities between neighborhoods. That's because the rich people and the poor are often just separated by a wall or a highway. Here you can see the beautiful houses with the slums right next door. Then we have the private school with the beautiful tennis court and the misshapen football pitch a few feet away from it. You just have to cross the street and you are transported to a whole new world. At least 2 million people are living in what most people call slums. That's because more than 40% of the population is poor, for a total of 122 million people in the whole country. And when it comes to extreme poverty, we are talking about more than 7% of the population population. But then they look up and they see skyscrapers dominating the sky. That's what happens when only 1% of the population is really wealthy, with 16 billionaires in the country. This is what makes Mexico one of the most unequal countries in the world, even though it's one of the 14 richest countries. Stonehenge. You have all heard about Stonehenge, and it looks very impressive when you look at the pictures that you have already seen. But if you take a step back in a helicopter, you'll notice that it's much smaller than we thought it was. It is just a little circle in a big field next to a road. And when 1 million tourists visit the place every year, it is also hard to make sure that no one stands in your picture. But no matter what, you will always be impressed when you think that Neolithic builders took 1,500 years to build it, as it was built in several stages. And it all started 5,000 years ago. However, historians don't really understand how they found a way to place these 100 massive upright stones in a circle. At that time, the wheel wasn't even invented, so it was probably really hard to move them. It is simply incredible when you think that these rocks were originally found 200 miles away from Stonehenge. This is why many historians had to think about different theories to explain this. The rocks could have been transported with sleds and ropes. It's also possible that they fashioned sledges and rollers out of tree trunks to lug the rocks on a long distance. No matter what, asking so many questions makes us want to see this place even more. Santorini. When we think of Greece, all we can see is white buildings and the blue water. In case you didn't know, you were probably thinking about the beautiful island of Santorini. However, your pictures on Instagram might look a little different than what you expected. That's because so many tourists want to visit this place that it's all you're going to see in your picture. But don't worry, it's still a great place to visit. First, you have to take a ferry, which can take around 5 hours. You have plenty of time to imagine the beautiful things that you are going to see in Santorini. But you can also fly if you're looking for something a little faster. Some of the most interesting things to do on the island are hiking the Caldera Path, taking a tour, renting a scooter, or eating amazing food. But what we love the most is probably just taking pictures and enjoying the view on this beautiful island. This is the best way to capture this moment and make this adventure last forever, as long as people are not standing in the way. If you could have a free ticket to visit one place in the world, where would you go? Don't be shy to answer in the comment section down below. We'd love to hear what you think. And that's it for 10 photos that will change the way you see the world. For more stories like this, make sure you watch 10 amazing pictures they won't show you in history books. Thanks for watching.